Hello and welcome everyone. Today we will be chatting about unpacking your financial aid offer. And our goal with this presentation today is to talk through some of the basics that have been laid out in the financial aid offer that has been sent to you, with your next step following this to set up an individual phone call or Zoom call with an admissions counselor who can talk more about your specific situation. So our hope is that we can get going on some of the basics. And my name is Laura Ramsey. I serve as Director of Admissions here at Whitworth. I brought with me today our financial aid expert, as I like to call her, Tracy Stenslin, and she is the Assistant Vice President for Student Financial Services. I'll turn it over to her.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome. Congratulations on being accepted to Whitworth University, a future pirate. I'm happy to be with you for the next hour and work with you in understanding what your financial offer actually means. So to get started, I'd like to share this slide. It's kind of near and dear to my heart because it kind of highlights financial aid and the importance of it in the journey. When I started looking at schools just a few years back, of course, I didn't really understand financial aid. I didn't understand the resources that were available and how it can offset expenses. And so I came from a family where neither of my parents had four-year degrees. I was the first generation to go on to a four-year school. So I was thinking just state schools, community colleges, that was kind of my track. And when someone would mention private schools, I just knew that that wasn't for me. It wasn't for my family. I thought of private schools as only for students with a lot of resources, other than financial aid. So I'm really proud to show this slide to illustrate that we have students from all over socioeconomic backgrounds attending Whitworth University. We're a private school for everyone. And so regardless of where you fall into income brackets, we have a robust financial aid program that supports students. So if Whitworth's the right choice for you, I'm pleased to say that we have students from all over different income brackets attending. I wish I knew about financial aid a few years back. So to get started, I just wanted to cover some basic definitions. It'll help us as we talk through the financial aid offer. First of all, what is financial aid? Many students just think financial aid would be scholarships and grants, and it's much broader than that. It's any type of resource that helps students pay for higher education. And what's interesting is that in federal regulation, it's noted that the primary resource for higher education for students under the age of 24 would be the parents. So parents sometimes don't realize that they're a form of financial aid, but the Department of Ed has labeled it that way. So that's why families, when they apply for financial aid, both parent and student complete the free application for federal student aid. Cost of attendance. Every school that a student is applying to right now for financial aid assigns a student a cost of attendance for their program. It will consist of two different components, direct costs and indirect costs. Direct costs are billed by the institution. So tuition, fees, room and meals, directly what you have to pay to go to school. Indirect costs consist of costs that you will still endure as a student and that we account for in calculating your financial aid, like books and supplies, transportation, travel home, personal expenses. We know those expenses are still valid while you're attending school. We put them into our cost of attendance, but you're not charged for them by the institution. So that's why we label them indirect costs. Hopefully, most of you, obviously, if you're receiving a financial aid offer, you have filed the free application for federal student aid or a WASFA. And in the process, you have been assigned an expected family contribution. And some families don't know what that means, but what that means is that your information that you have provided on the applications, on the FAFSA or the WASFA, calculated what your family can contribute towards higher education. It's the number that schools have to use to determine need-based financial aid. So it's a number that stays the same no matter which school you're applying to. But keep in mind, your cost of attendance is going to vary from school to school. So your need is going to vary. The basic formula for determining need-based financial aid is to take the cost of attendance minus the expected family contribution, and that equals the financial need. So sometimes I hear families say, well, I'm not going to qualify for need-based aid. Well, that may be true at a lower cost institution, but at a higher cost institution, the student may indeed qualify for financial need-based financial aid. We recognize the expected contribution is not necessarily what you could afford or necessarily what you owe, but it is a standard number that the federal government has assigned through a methodology that keeps things standard and equitable as we're assigning need-based aid. So this just highlights that every school that you complete, that you list on your free application for federal student aid will receive that EFC. It will stay the same at all institutions to calculate your need-based resources. Okay, so hopefully all of you received that big envelope. It was an exciting day. You opened it up and you received the letter from me, and on the back a cost worksheet and your personalized offer. I'm going to go through the offer step by step from the top to the bottom, unpacking it for you. So hopefully you find this helpful. This is our student Buccaneer. He is our future pirate coming to us next year. So we have assigned him a Whitworth student ID. You will see that up in the right-hand corner, all those zeros, you have an actual number there. Be sure to keep that number close to you, especially when you're calling the university, because often we will ask for that number to identify the student and even to confirm that the parent is the parent of the student. So please keep that Whitworth ID close. We have listed your housing, whether or not you'll be living on campus or if you'll be living with parents with a housing waiver. We are an institution that requires 2 years of residential living. It's a great experience for students living in the residence halls and experiencing our student life programs. So first and second year, we have students live on campus. If your family lives near campus and you want a waiver to live with parents, that would be the other option. EFC, that is the expected family contribution that we took from the most recent received FAFSA for you. And we list the FAFSA date that we're using so that you can tie the two together. Now, keep in mind, we recognize that students could have multiple transactions of a FAFSA. So that's why we're telling you up front that this offer is based on that expected family contribution and with that FAFSA so that you can tie that together. This offer is based on a student taking 12 to 16 credits per semester. That says per term, which means we have 2 semesters. We have a fall semester and a spring semester. So students can take 12 to 16 credits each semester, and we have the aid assigned accordingly. We also offer, and I'm just going to throw this in, a Jan term where students can take 1 to 5 credits in the month of January, so in between fall semester and spring semester, for $325. I believe that's the fee for next year. I don't think it's going up. That is a great opportunity for students to take more credits and live on campus during the snowy, beautiful weather for a very reduced fee. Okay, so scholarships and grants. Scholarships and grants are the most popular type of financial aid. It's because it's the free gift money that doesn't have to be repaid or earned. So it's considered gift aid. It kind of comes in 2 forms. Scholarships that are typically based on academics and merit or talent, and grants that are typically based on financial need, which means the student shows need in that very simple formula, cost of attendance minus EFC equals need. The higher the need, the student is usually eligible for need-based grants. I'm going to unpack some scholarships and grants, specifically in the beginning, some Whitworth scholarships. So Laura, if I could advance to the next slide, awesome. So this is a list of our renewable grants, scholarships and grants. So the university scholarship ranges from 12 to 25,000. And so students are awarded that at the time the student is admitted. If the student completes a free application for federal student aid or a WASFA, the student will be considered for our University Whitworth grant program that is based on financial need. And that varies from $1,000 to $4,000. We offer an on-campus housing grant for first-year students, not transfers, of $3,000 a year. Students can receive that on-campus grant every year that they live on campus in our Residence Life program. For students who meet the criteria of a visit scholarship, the student will receive their first year $1,000 visit scholarship. That is not renewable, but a great way to start off your first year in college. We have multiple departments who offer talent and participation scholarships for 1,000 or more. So if you have interest in music, art, theater, media, forensics, debate, or young life, hopefully you've been in contact with one of those departments, because right now is the time that they're accepting those applications and their auditions and art portfolios. So you'd want to touch base with them and see about getting connected with how to apply for those talent and participation scholarships. And if you need help with that, your admissions counselor would be happy to make that connection. We also know that there's information on our website under those various disciplines. If you are a Washington State student and have signed up to participate in the College Bound program in your middle school years, you may have been awarded the College Bound program as a complement to our Washington State grant program. And that is a great state grant program that awards about $11,900 each year to students. If a student comes to us with those programs and has a 3.25 GPA as a first-year student or a 3.0 as a transfer student, we will promise to cover all tuition with gift aid, which means we will take into account all gift aid that the student is eligible for. And if any tuition is still owed, not covered by gift aid, we will make sure we promise to cover it in additional gift aid. Great opportunity for students. National Merit semifinalists will receive a scholarship of $2,000. For students whose parents have served in our military and who are not receiving full education benefits through a VA benefit, we will award a scholarship up to $1,500. And students actively participating in Phi Theta Kappa will receive a scholarship of $1,500. These scholarships are all renewable, which means that we will award them every year the student attends. We don't front load scholarships. We don't give first year students awesome offers and then take them away the sophomore, junior, and senior year. We try to keep things consistent from year to year. The only caveat to that is that the federal and state programs are sensitive to need. So those programs can change based on your FAFSA or your WASFA. We are blessed with very generous donors who have given us over 150 scholarships to award each year to our returning students, to our continuing students. So we have students apply online in November and fill out an online application, and we try to connect them with a donor-based scholarship if they meet the criteria. We also continue to offer talent and participation scholarships each year, and our academic departments offer 3 to 21 scholarships each. So once you're here, there's still ways to increase your financial aid resources. Okay, back to Buccaneer. So I went over the Whitworth Scholarship and Grants Program, but I want to remind you too that our federal government is one of the largest contributors to our financial aid dollars, in that they provide the federal Pell Grant Program and the federal SEOG Grant Program. Both of those programs are based on financial need and do require the filing of the FAFSA. We also have a very robust state program, and I referred to it with the College Bound program, where students who show high need could be awarded a Washington College grant through the state. And then if the student has signed up for College Bound, that College Bound program then complements the Washington College Grant Program. So we have institutional scholarships and grants, and we have federal, and we have state. Okay, so we're going to move on to student loans. Your offer will probably indicate subsidized and unsubsidized loans. As I said, we have aid that's based on need and not need. The federal government recognized a few years back, actually it's been more than a few years back, that students who didn't qualify for need-based student loans still needed access to a solid federal student loan program. So they introduced the unsubsidized loan. So the difference between the two is that the subsidized loan is based on need, and the government is paying the interest while the student is in school and for 6 months after the student leaves school. There are also some deferments that are in place where the student can defer principal and interest, and the government will pay the interest during those deferment times. Excellent loan program. There's deferments for graduate school, Peace Corps. So if you're a student that's interested in going on to graduate school, these loans can be deferred while you're attending, and no interest would be accumulating on these loans. There's a very small 1% fee that comes out of these loans, and the interest rate right now is at an all-time low of 2.75%. The non-need-based version of this loan program is the unsubsidized, and you don't have to demonstrate financial need to qualify. Students are responsible for the interest while the student is going to school. It does not capitalize on top of the principal. It's not going to snowball on you. It happens just at repayment. And students still have 6 months from the time that they leave school to begin principal and interest payment on this loan. First year students, 0 to 29 credits, can receive up to $5,500 with a combination of these two programs. The maximum subsidized we can award is $3,500, and maximum unsub is $2,000. And then you can see, as the student is in school longer, the government gives them just a little bit more borrowing power on the subsidized loan, which is nice as that student is getting further along in their education. Okay, some families are nervous about student loans, but they're not like commercial loans in the sense that, like I mentioned, there's the 6-month grace period, there's the deferments, and they also have a lot of different repayment plans, which is not true with commercial loans, in the sense that they really try to help the student as the student gets out of school to stay in good standing on their student loan payments, but also work with them as they're looking for their first job or deciding to go on to grad school. So 6 different repayment plans. The loans can be consolidated if necessary, and there's even a public service loan forgiveness program that I anticipate with our new administration actually broadening. So that's going to be good news. So excellent option for borrowing for higher education. Okay, the good news is parents can borrow too from the federal government. They have a federal direct parent loan. It is a credit-based loan, although the credit that is run on the family is not a very rigid credit check. So that helps families a little bit. The interest rate on that is 4.53%. The nice thing about the parent loan is, again, you can opt to defer paying interest on that loan until after your student graduates. It does not capitalize on top of the principal, but you will be charged interest on the amount that is dispersed. But it's a way to kind of maybe postpone or push out the costs of higher education. So this is a great option for families. You borrow directly from the federal government. If for some reason the parents are not approved for the federal parent loan, students can then have access to another $4,000 on the unsubsidized loan program. Both the student and the parent can receive more information about these federal loans on studentaid.gov. And that's where the students will do their promissory note and their entrance counseling, and parents will apply for parent loans. The parent loan program will probably open up for application for the 21-22 academic year in late or mid or late April. The other option is private education loans that the parent or student can borrow through a commercial bank. There are some commercial banks that offer these programs. We can't recommend them. We can just tell you that they're out there and have you do some research. We have some information on our webpage. But again, if the student or parent is interested in doing a private education loan, we can certainly help facilitate that as well. So if we go back to Buck's offer here, one thing that we've done for you at the bottom, you will see that we have calculated how much the family can borrow in a PLUS or a private education loan. And the way we get that number is we take your cost of attendance and we subtract all your financial aid. And that's the remaining amount. And that means that families can finance the expected contribution through these private loans, private or credit-based loans. So if you're curious to know how much you have in borrowing power under those programs, we've already calculated it for you. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about work-study or student employment. We have an awesome work-study student employment program here on campus. We have over 800 positions that we post each year. We post them in a web-based program called Handshake, and those applications usually open up in mid-August. And you will be alerted in your timelines of when that will happen. In early September, when you come to campus, you will come with a resume and you will be interviewed and hopefully secure an awesome on-campus position. We in student financial services, and I know admissions too, we hire a lot of students. They're awesome. I don't know what we would do without them. Great experience for them. Our career services office has a dedicated staff to support students in the work study and student employment process. Washington minimum wage is $13.69, and that's the minimum that the students will start. And on average, when a student works 8 to 10 hours a week, a student can expect to earn somewhere between $3,500 and $4,000 per year. It depends on how many weeks they end up working in that semester. Students do receive payment directly twice a month. They can have it ACH'd right into their bank account. And if the offer that you have says student employment, it just means that you didn't qualify for a need-based work-study program through our federal and state governments, but you can certainly do student employment here on campus. We have an institutional program. Okay, so we have unpacked the different types of aid a student can receive in an offer: the scholarships and grants, gift aid, free money, student loans, great strong student loan program to borrow from, and then work study program. So now we're going to review the costs, and we provide right in the offer a cost analysis. It shows you the tuition and mandatory fees, on-campus housing with a meal plan, and that shows a room with a roommate and a full meal plan, and the total costs billed, which would be your direct costs, $60,090. Now, this student, Buck, had over $29,000 in scholarships and grants, and with his loans, he had $34,600. So when we subtract out just the scholarships and grants, Buck's going to owe $30,990 for the year. And if he takes his student loans, he'll owe $25,490. So we know that there's a gap. So we have provided you a cost worksheet on the back of the letter that I wrote you that kind of gives you an opportunity to work out different scenarios related to how much you might owe. So it takes your tuition, your fees, your Jan term fee that I talked about, your meal plan, and of course we leave housing and meal plan open because for those students living with parents, and you bring down the total. And then you take your scholarships and grants and add them together, and that may change as you may receive outside scholarships in the course of the spring. Your federal direct loans, your total for aid for letter B, and then you take your total costs minus your financial aid, and that's what we refer to as the gap that has to be covered or paid. And I'm going to show you some ways that you might cover that gap. We know that some families might have some savings set aside for higher education. We encourage students to be saving for their education. This is a partnership. Save your graduation money. It can make a big difference in helping cover that gap. Student work, I can't talk strongly enough about securing student work early enough. And we knew last year, and with COVID, it's been a challenge, but students don't start looking in June after you graduate, start looking in April. Try to find something where you can earn money over the summer to help cover that. We talked about student employment. Students can earn about $3,500 during the academic year. They can take their paychecks and pay on that gap that's owed. Parents can take out parent loans. Both parent and student could take out a private education loan. And then there's outside scholarships. We highly encourage and support students in looking for outside scholarships. A great way, I received several when I went to school, and it made a big difference. Even the small ones, they add up. They pay for books and supplies. They pay for transportation. So look for those outside scholarships because they can really help with the gap and with those extra expenses. Some families have a 529 plan that will help. And then we also have an interest-free payment plan that families can use to spread out their payments over 4 months each semester. Okay, we recognize that the FAFSA takes a snapshot of your resources. It takes 2019 income, it takes a snapshot of your assets at the time of signature, and we know that may not be a valid representation of your resources for higher education. So if you have endured some special circumstances, like loss of income, health expenses not covered by insurance, maybe you're supporting a family member in your household, you have private tuition costs for elementary or secondary education, or you've had expenses related to this pandemic. Those could be considered special circumstances that we can take a look at. We can see if they can make any difference in your eligibility for aid. You can't submit these to the FAFSA or to the WASFA. You can just submit them to your financial aid professionals. And we have, under federal regulation, the option to review these special circumstances and see if they make a difference in your financial aid. Here at Whitworth, we hope to have that process open and available to families the first week in February. If you have questions about that, be sure to get in touch with your admissions counselor. Okay, here at Whitworth, we don't have a special box you have to check to accept your financial aid offer. Scholarships and grants are automatically accepted. We haven't found too many students turning away free gift aid. Work study is automatically accepted when a student secures a job here on campus or off campus. And loans can be declined by the student. Students can decline all or part of their loans. Whatever amount is declined, we do have to subtract from the total and make 2 equal disbursements, one for fall and one for spring. So if the student would like to get some counseling on it, the student can call us and we can talk the student through. Unfortunately, parents, we can't take emails and calls from you. These loans are in the student's name, so the student does need to communicate any amount they want to decline related to their federal direct loans. Okay, billing. Fall semester starts in September, and we have your payment arrangements due mid-August, which just means you need to tell us how you're going to cover your outstanding balance. For spring semester, our semester starts in February with payment arrangements due in mid-January. When we say payment arrangements, we mean that there's 3 different options. You can pay the balance in full before each semester begins. You can make monthly payments, set up a payment plan, and spread it over 4 months. There's a nominal fee each semester. Or parents take out a credit-based loan, like a parent loan, to cover the balance. In early summer, we will provide students with a pre-bill workbook, which will guide them through the billing process that will be due in August. Okay, what's next? In the course of the spring, there may be a situation where we have to revise your financial aid award. It could be because you were selected for federal verification, which is a random process. And we've been asked to review your tax documents related to 2019 and get a verification worksheet from you to collect some household information. The feds ask us that we check that data on your application before we disperse any federal aid to you. So your offer may be estimated at this point, so a revision might occur for that reason. It might occur because you get a huge outside scholarship, so we have to revise your award to include that. So be looking for revised financial aid offers in your self-service portal. We will email you that a change has been made to your financial aid, and then a new offer is available in the portal in self-service for you. And all the history of your offers will be there for you to review as well. The offers that are in self-service do not look like the paper offer you received in the mail, just a heads up, but they are the offer is laid out very nicely. You will want to check self-service for any requested financial aid documents that you may need to do or loan processes. Report any outside scholarships to us online. So there's an online form that you can do that. And we are also, we've also provided a PDF called Unpacking Your Financial Aid Offer that is a written brochure that basically, hopefully I've covered most of it for you here, but if you want to go back and check on something or read about something, this PDF would really help you. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Laura, our Director of Admissions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tracy. Okay, just a few final steps that we want to share with you before we wrap up for today. Hopefully after this session today, you have a pretty good understanding of the basics of your financial aid offer. So our next step is to set up a time for you to have an individual phone call or Zoom call with your admissions counselor. We know each family situation is different. We know you each have individual questions. So we really want to support you and find a way to connect with you on an individual level. Plus, with Zoom technology, we can share screens, we can share a lot more information. So please do set up a time for us to connect. We have sent emails out to students who have received their financial aid offers with a link to sign up for a Zoom. If you can't find that or don't have that handy, feel free to give us a call, send us an email, just let us know, and we'd be happy to connect you with your admissions counselor. Another next step is submitting your $350 enrollment deposit as soon as possible. Our enrollment deposit is fully refundable until May 1st for incoming first-year students. So it really helps you to submit your deposit right away. And even if you're not quite sure yet, you're definitely at an advantage by submitting the enrollment deposit sooner rather than later. The reason being, you can then sign up for housing, select your top choices in residence hall preference, and that also locks in your spot in line for being able to register for classes when that process starts in May. So you can submit your deposit online at whitworth.edu/app-status. And that's also where we are keeping track of a lot of your next step information. Okay, and finally, I want to just share a quick picture of our student financial services and admissions teams. This is actually a couple years old, but we haven't been able to be all together in a while, but there are a lot of friendly faces out there wanting to support you and serve you. Our email addresses and phone numbers are there at the bottom. Please do reach out and let us know how we can assist in this process. Tracy, is there anything else you'd like to say to close up?
Just know that we know the financial aid process is stressful, and we're here to support you and walk beside you and help you figure out that gap. And we look forward to seeing you on campus this fall.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.